Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about Silkroad R. Now, I've got a lot to say in this video, because Silkroad R is a free-to-play MMO that is a sequel to the first ever free-to-play game that I played, the first ever free-to-play MMO, in that of Silkroad Online. R, of course, standing for remake, since it's a remake of the original MMO. I have a lot of nostalgic memories about this, and so this video is going to be a mix of me talking about the nostalgia of Silkroad Online, how Silkroad R has applied those things, and I guess, quote, remade them, and also talking just, I guess, a little bit about my experience with it. Now, I was sponsored to play this game for an hour. I'm sponsored to make this video. This video is just going to be thoughts. It's not going to be a review. If you see it and you want to try it for yourself, there's a link in the description. All standard stuff for a sponsored video, but you guys know that I keep it real all the time. So, with Silkroad R, let me first explain what Silkroad Online was. Silkroad Online, as I said, was a free-to-play MMO back from the mid-2000s. I believe it was 2005, if I'm not mistaken. I had this discussion with a few people on the stream. And so, it was the first ever free-to-play MMO I ever played. And it set the bar for the next several years of what I expected from free-to-play MMOs. And I had a ton of friends who played it with me as well. We, basically, the prospect of the game is that you make a character and you travel the Silk Road. You level up by grinding thousands upon thousands of enemies and doing quests, of course. And all along the way, you're picking up loot, you know, trading it with other players. You have incredibly rare loot like Seal of the Star, Seal of the Sun style loot that it was highly coveted and upgradable through a risky venture of using augments to try and get it to +1, +5, +8. And if you failed, well, guess where you were going? All the way back to the start. And then you had things like being able to be a merchant in one of the major cities. You had world bosses that you could compete for or work together with people who were nearby to, again, get this super rare loot that you could trade with the other players. You had, you know, items that could be broken down into alchemy. You had caravans that you could escort from city to city. You could be a murderer. You could be a hunter and go after those caravans and make a name for yourself as a bandit. Basically, it was, I guess, my first ever experience with a sandbox MMO as well, which I hadn't really ever thought of, but it was basically a very sandboxy game, very grindy, very sandbox-focused MMO. And I have very fond memories of the game from back in 2005. I played it for about 6 months, and I just remember all these little details here and there. I can't piece them together very well, but I remember doing one quest where I had to kill 1,000 enemies, and I remember the first time that I got a drop that was Seal of the Sun, which was, like, again, incredibly rare and also incredibly powerful for several levels. I remember being ganked by random squads of bandits while I was leveling, and then to have a random squad of protectors come in and actually avenge my death and things like that. I have memories of all these things. And so when I was offered to do a sponsored stream and a sponsored video for Silkroad R, for nostalgia's sake, I said, you know what? Yeah, I have good memories of that game from 10 years ago. I understand that nowadays, if you were to look at a game like that, you might look at it and kind of shake your head both ways and be like, I don't know. I don't know. So Silkroad R is what I was sponsored to play. It is a remake of Silkroad Online from the mid-2000s. And again, this came out in 2012, and it was, from what my experience was, a slight improvement over Silkroad Online. All of those prospects I just named seem to essentially be intact. The ideas are all the same, the executions are all the same. Even a lot of the menus and most of the UI is almost completely identical to what I remember, though I'm sure if I watched a video of Silkroad Online, I'd find things were probably different than I remember them in my head. And other than that, I mean, there's not much to say. They made some slight graphical improvements, very slight. They made leveling a little faster. It felt like skill points and leveling was slightly faster, especially in the early game. For the European servers, which is what I was playing on, they were even giving me seal items. I think they were Seal of the Star, which is the lowest of the 3 seal items if things haven't changed or if I'm not remembering them incorrectly, making so you have some pretty decent items early on. Setting up things like auto potion, having the G button be auto loot. It's by the way, it's click to move as a game as well as not a traditional WASD game for an MMO. So that was also a very different experience for me from an MMO standpoint. And man, it's just all these things that I'm remembering. And Silkroad R is all of those things. There were a lot of things that the game also had that I remember. For example, it wasn't uncommon for people to bot in the original Silk Road Online, and so what they had is you could actually purchase items from a vendor that were bombs that were coded as enemies. So if someone was running a bot and they weren't paying attention and you planted a bomb that was coded as an enemy where they were botting, they would basically run up and die because they would attack it, it would blow up in their face and kill them. And things like that were just hilarious to me. The idea of countering bots with this item in-game that the players could actively use to go and interrupt the process was just something that was so foreign to me. And again, because I had no experience with free-to-play MMOs, I wasn't used to the idea of free-to-play MMOs just having such free access to things like this, to seeing bots so, you know, just casually and using these bombs to mess with them. Oh man, just, all right, I need to get back on track. But anyway, with Silk Road R, all of those things seem to be intact. And the biggest thing that I found was kind of unfortunate about Silk Road R is the term slight improvement. Despite being re-released in 2012, a lot of things that I was looking for, maybe slight modernizations, were mostly absent. A lot of the options for the game's graphics aren't available until you actually get into the game. When you get to the launcher, you can set the resolution and you can set the graphics to a certain point. But the rest of the options weren't until I logged into the game. And logging into the game, the server that was there, the singular server for Silk Road R, was full. And I had to wait about, I think, 40 minutes in order to get in, which replicates my experience with Silk Road Online. That was not uncommon for Silk Road Online as well. You would mostly try to log in during the mornings or the evening and do your grinding then, because that was usually when you'd have the lowest login queues. And it seems to be very similar here. I had a much lower login queue when I tried logging in before the stream of only like 4 minutes. And that was definitely a much quicker experience to have. But there was, other than that, I would have liked to have seen more improvements on things such as the graphics, on the user interface and its intuitiveness. But for the most part, it's a lot about reading the text that comes up on the screen and understanding the systems they're trying to introduce to you. And I mean, unlike what I'm used to nowadays with, like, you know, modernized MMOs, you know, I needed to get involved. I needed to go through those tutorials, read things, remember things, find out how the skill books worked, remembered the different weapons and how they scaled, pick a weapon and try to remember what skills each weapon type even has. I had to, man, I can't even remember, dude. I had to remember everything. You know, speed up scrolls, EXP scrolls, pets that can either pick up items or you store items or have various buffs or effects like that. All these things are there. And of course, with Silk Road R also being free to play like Silk Road Online was, there are of course things in the cash shop such as additional inventory pages, you know, minions that last a certain number of days that have these various things that I just described to you, EXP boosts, things like that. You know, things you'd expect from your average free-to-play store. Again, back in the original, this was normal, and it's normal again here. Again, I only played it for an hour, so I don't know the extent of, you know, the community. All I can tell you is that the server I was able to play on was full, and that it was recently, the servers were merged to get to that full server. I know that you can pay for priority login access, so you don't have to sit in through a queue. And these are all things that, again, were super normal in Silk Road Online, and in Silk Road R, they're all exactly the same. There's just not much that's different here. So if you're someone who's nostalgic for the original Silk Road Online, you'd probably look at this and go, oh my goodness, and go through all the memories. If you've never played it before, you're probably looking at this and again wondering, Haps, what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now, Haps? Like, what is this game that you're presenting to me? And what do I need to understand? And you know what? I couldn't even tell you everything you need to understand after only an hour, and after not playing the franchise, I guess we'll call it that, for over 10 years now. What I can tell you is, if you want to grind thousands upon thousands of enemies with a couple of friends, and then if you make it to past the basic points, killing the world bosses, killing the giant enemies, the champion level enemies, because enemies also come in different sizes with different or enhanced loot tables if you kill the stronger versions of them. If you want to go through, I guess, an old school sandbox experience, I mean, that's what this is. So again, there's a link in the description if you're interested in trying it out. I've just been talking over whatever stream footage I have, so it probably looks ridiculous to you. But I agreed to do this video. I'm doing the video, and a part of me wants to keep playing because I want to get to the point where I was in the old one and see how I remember it exactly and how exactly it matches up to the same point in the game. So it's interesting. It's interesting to me that this exists. It's interesting to me that it still exists, that it's still around after all these years, even if this is the remade version. And man, I just look at it and I go, man, that's memories. That's memories right there. But anyway, just wanted to share a little bit of a nostalgic experience with you with the original Silkroad, with R, again, being the same thing, but just slightly improved over the original. And yeah, I'm just going to leave the video at that. Maybe I'll play a little bit of me running around getting beat on for a little bit here at the end. But that's going to be a wrap for this video. Thanks for sponsoring this video, JoeMax. And, you know, best of luck to you with Silkroad, because it held a special place in my heart all those years ago. So, always wish the best upon you. But anyway, thanks for watching. I will see all you fine ladies and gentlemen in the next video. I got quite a few I got to get working on right now. So, thank you, and until next time, take care.